Welcome everyone to the very last Woo University event in November, and we are ending on a great event. This is an incredible topic that people are very excited about. Both men and women have requested this information, so it is going to be an exciting one. My name is Dr. Stephanie Woo, and I am the host for this evening, and I am also the founder of Woo University. Now, my pleasure to introduce Dr. Angel Husher Rodriguez, and I usually don't read the entire biography, but for Dr. Husher, I have to because it's so interesting. So Dr. Husher received her Bachelor of Science degree in biology with a minor in theater, which you'll hear more about later, from Hawaii Pacific University in 2008. And then I met Dr. Husher when she was a optometry student at the University of Missouri in St. Louis. I was the cornea and contact lens resident when Dr. Husher was a third-year student. She's now working on her Master of Public Health through the University of Alaska. She is the senior optometrist at the South Central Foundation in Wasilla, Alaska, where she mentors others while working together with the Native Alaskan community to provide comprehensive exams with an emphasis on physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness. She's also passionate about myopia control, dry eye disease, and she loves educating not only her patients, but lucky for us, her peers, about cosmetic safety. This is so interesting to me, and besides EyeCare, she has lots of hobbies, and she is involved in musical theater. And she was just cast as Maria in The Sound of Music, one of my favorite musicals of all time. And she's also played Rosie in Mamma Mia, Martha Watson in White Christmas, and Sabella in The Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder. And, you know, Dr. Husher is not only a wonderful eye doctor, as you will see, but she is a wonderful teacher. And I am so excited to have her be a presenter at Woo University. Thank you so much, Dr. Husher Rodriguez, for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I'm so excited. Thank you again. I'm just really excited to be here. And before I get started, I just want you to know that I have zero financial disclosures, and everything I'm presenting today is a reflection of me and not of my employer. And I just really hope that we make today a lot of fun. So let's get to it. So cosmetic wear, the grizzly bear in EyeCare. So I got started on makeup and learning about makeup when I noticed that as I did a show, my eyes would be really uncomfortable. And then I just started putting that together, right? Because I'm the eye doctor. And then I would have patients in my chair, you know, just asking me how they should be wearing their makeup or removing it. And I always thought it'd be a very easy answer, and it's not. So I hope that you guys pick up some really interesting nuggets today. And I'm just really excited to be sharing all of this with you. Okay, so I'm gonna hide this. Okay, let's get started. So my goals today are just to understand the role we play in recognizing unsafe cosmetic practices and recommend healthy alternatives, identify challenges in the beauty and cosmetic industry, plus the current FDA regulations. I want you to learn how to distinguish marketing labels and how to read ingredient lists on the back of product labels. We're going to discuss Ocular Cosmetics and their effect on eye health. And then we're going to learn 14 practical tips to explain appropriate makeup selection, application, wear, and removal techniques. So I hope that you're able to bring a lot of this starting tomorrow, like when you're seeing patients. Okay, so the beauty industry. The beauty industry is ginormous. So in 2019, over $106.4 billion was brought in by the US beauty and cosmetic industry. There's very little regulation regarding ingredients, product labeling, and this giant market is regulated by a page-and-a-half document that was last updated in 1938. So this law basically allows businesses to regulate themselves, in a sense. So the regulation is called the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, and it was signed into law, again, 1938 by FDR. So 2018, 2.7 million lines of cosmetics imported. And of all of those products, 0.2% were physically examined. There's no market approval of safety testing required. Companies don't need to report adverse events, nor do they need to recall products, like they're not required by law. And then basically, the FDA is just not able to keep up with the size and complexity of the personal care industry. So the reason why we even have any type of FDA regulation is because of FDR's wife. So in 1933, Chicago World's Fair highlighted the lack of regulation of cosmetics. So they featured this product called Lash. And the marketing was that it will give you a radiating personality. So basically, it was this eyebrow and eyelash dye that caused these horrific side effects: dermatitis, loss of lashes. And at this event, they showed before and after pictures that just mortified Mrs. Franklin Roosevelt. And so as she was just so emotional looking at these photos, it prompted her husband to sign the first and only US cosmetic beauty regulation that we currently have. So the ingredient in that Lash product, it's called paraphenylaldiamine, PPD, and it's a white powder derived from aniline, which is a component of coal tar. So whenever it's exposed to air, it changes, color. And so that's where all of these problems were coming from this ingredient. So people were getting products, they didn't even know if this was in it, for example. So from the current regulation, we do have 30 banned cosmetic ingredients. So of course they banned the ingredient PPD in cosmetics, but it's actually not banned in hair dyes. They banned chloroform and mercury, which is great. So we have 30 banned ingredients in the US, it's like whole US. It is changing a little bit in California, but we won't talk about that for just 1 second. And then in the EU and Canada, they just have a much better regulation process. So they've banned over 1,500 ingredients that they know cause some type of damage or that we should really be avoiding using, including formaldehyde, formaldehyde donors, and then fragrance, which is basically a term that it's like a trademark. So fragrance could include one ingredient or a plethora of ingredients, but under that word fragrance, it's kind of like a trademark. They're not going to tell you exactly what's in there. So when the law came about, Lash was still able to be sold. It just made the manufacturers legally responsible. So what they did is they just had people sign a release and a waiver saying that, hey, do you want to look beautiful? Then sign here. So still not a great policy. Okay, so currently, when you are using mascara, eyeshadow, any type of cosmetics or beauty product, there are ingredients that you're able to, there are products that you're able to purchase that have ingredients in the US that are not good for your body and definitely not good for the ocular surface. And so I'm going to try to move this here so I can see my close up. Boom. Okay. So some things that are not good for the ocular surface are definitely different preservatives like BAK, we know that from eye drops, chlorphenesin, phenoxyethanol, parabens, and some other ingredients that you'd want to avoid that are not good for that area either. Obviously, coal tar, formaldehyde, formaldehyde donors like the ureas, talc, which is mined really closely to asbestos. So sometimes there's a lot of contamination concerns. And so whenever you're looking at a product or you're teaching your patients how to look at products and how to figure out, which ingredients they're supposed to be avoiding and like how to know what ingredients are in what product, know that the order matters. So this is just an example to the left of a very, very commonly used mascara. And so whenever you look at the back, you'll see the ingredient list, and they're actually listed in order from greatest to least amount in the product. So this mascara here, it's mostly composed of water, and then the next highest ingredient would be paraffin. So this isn't very fun for the ocular surface. So in a study I think this was in 2020, they're looking at the toxicity of different cosmetic preservatives on meibomian gland epithelial cells. And what they found in the lab is within 30 minutes, All of these preservatives cause cell death. So this is definitely why I do not recommend products with parabens, phenyloxyethanol, or chlorphenephrine near the eye area because of this study. So definitely, we don't have healthy epithelial cells for the meibomian glands. We're not going to have healthy meibomian glands. All right, and so there are different ingredients that are very hard to avoid, and that includes iron oxides, mica, silicone resins, which are found in waterproof makeup, and stearic acid. And so I would just recommend limiting these. Okay, so in December of 2019, the Subcommittee on Health finished their very first hearing to make products safer. So this was the very first time they had talked about changing the current regulations since 1938. It's called the Safe Cosmetics and Personal Care Products Act of 2019. They haven't moved forward with a lot of these yet, obviously because of COVID, other things kind of leading the way. But this new act would be amazing if it gets passed. So it would ban an additional 12 ingredients. It would make products have complete ingredients disclosure. So if someone wanted to use fragrance, for example, they would have to say exactly what's in fragrance. Or if a product has less than 1% of an ingredient, sometimes they don't put it on the label. And so it would require them to put everything that's in that product on the label. And some of the downsides is for smaller companies. They were worried that this would just cost too much money for them. So smaller companies would have fees waived, and then bigger companies would have to pay a larger fee for their safety standards. So this would be a really good idea. Okay, so that's a little bit about the industry. So now let's talk about labels. So whenever you're talking to your patients in the chair about selecting makeup, sometimes the label really matters. So whenever you are looking at labels, there are marketing labels, which we'll talk about, and then there are labels that tell you if it's cruelty-free. There are labels that will tell you if it's organic, and then there are labels that will tell you how often to replace it, for example. And so whenever you hear the marketing type of labels, those are the ones that people think that marketing companies are basically trying to trick them to make them think they're making healthier choices. So the label hypoallergenic, I get patients all the time. I'll ask them, what type of mascara are you using? And they'll say, oh, it's hypoallergenic. So there is actually no federal standard for this definition. So anyone can be allergic to any ingredient. And about 4% of patients will experience a dermatitis on the eyelid. So just because a product says hypoallergenic, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to have a reaction to it. Now, some common allergens that are found in products that you use near the eye would be products with fragrance, different preservatives like we just talked about, antioxidants, and definitely nickel. So those are going to be the most commonly found ingredients that will cause eye allergies. The word pH balanced, again, it's just a marketing term. So as we know, the pH of the eyelid is just slightly acidic. And we need it acidic so that we can have a good lipid barrier to support the balance of the microbial flora on the eyelid skin. But there's a lot of factors, including medications that people are taking and different skin conditions that alter the skin's pH. So there's no perfect pH product. So again, this is just a marketing label. Another marketing label is the dermatologist, ophthalmologist tested. So there's not a thorough regulatory process for testing, nor is there a regulatory process for reporting like how many doctors tested the product, plus a doctor could be paid to endorse the product. And so I found this Neutrogena eyeshadow, and it says dermatologist tested, ophthalmologist tested, and it's safe for sensitive eyes. And then they definitely have ingredients like talc, mica, parabens that are not very good for the ocular surface. And then at the very bottom, it says to avoid contact with your eyes. So I just think that's quite funny. Just showing you how marketing is at play there. Clinically proven, again, another marketing label that you'll see. And so there's no regulations that state the number of patients who've tried it. It's generally just a really vague claim that they can't really prove or disprove. This is my favorite, natural. It means nothing. It's just a buzzword. So if you see natural makeup, it doesn't mean it's going to be more healthy than something else. Okay, so cruelty-free actually can sometimes mean something. So, but at some point, most ingredients that are used in cosmetics have been tested on animals, but there are better cruelty-free products. And so there's three kind of divisions of real cruelty-free labels. And it's the Leaping Bunny, the PETA bunny, which is my least favorite, and then the not tested, unlike the CCF bunny. And so these are the three bunnies that actually mean something. There's some kind of regulatory process. They pay for these labels. But sometimes it's really hard for companies to put these on them because you have to pay a fee to use their logo. So there's all these like fake ones. So like when you see like these fake bunnies, they don't really mean anything either. So it's just something cute that they put on their product label. And then organic, this is a label that also can mean something. So when you see the green organic label, it means 95% of those ingredients are organic. But again, some organic ingredients are just as harmful as synthetic ones. So that's something that's really hard to convince people of recently, but those labels do mean something. So like the green organic label, 95% of those ingredients are organic. And then if you see the blue made with organic, that means 70% of those ingredients are organic. And then there's tons of fake organic. Just go to like your local Kroger or Fred Meyer and go to that section. You'll see all these kind of cute labels. They don't really mean anything. Okay. This does. So if there are like three things you're going to take away from this presentation, this should definitely be one of them. You're going to just wow your patients. I can't wait for you to try it tomorrow. So typically what I used to say to people is take your makeup off at night and replace your makeup every 3 months. But there's actually a replacement schedule on the back of the product, dependent on how many preservatives are in it, and then how to avoid contamination. So when you look on the back of the product, you'll see this little open jar. And so 3M means to replace it every 3 months, 12M every 12 months. And that's just an example. So just like we know, there's normal bacteria on the eyelid that's not harmful, but when it is multiplying, that's when it causes issues. And so when you're using cosmetics that have been contaminated, that's where we cause a lot of problems. And so when they did this study at the beauty counter, they found that the beauty counters where you try on different shades within the different companies. And so they found that within all of the shared cosmetics, they had just a plethora of contamination. And so that's kind of why you want to make sure that you have a single user. With mascara, the reason why you hear that constant replace every 3 months is because the longer it's open, the higher microbial concentration it has. And so there was one study that showed 30% of mascaras had contamination within 3 months. And so that's where that 3-month buzzword came in. But some mascaras actually are replacing every 1 month because they have a lot less preservatives. And then some are a little bit longer, but that's just an example. Okay. So Demodex is like, I feel like it's everywhere. And so when you're a makeup user, it's worse because Demodex are in the Zeiss and meibomian glands, and we need them, but they can also live in cosmetics. They can live in their applicators. And so you're just like reinfesting every time you put makeup on. So if you see someone with crazy Demodex, just make sure that they're replacing their makeup. All right. So preservatives are really not great for the ocular surface. And so we know about BAK, right? But there are a lot of preservatives that are in makeup that can cause, just a lot of discomfort, dryness, allergies. And so some big ones are the paraben esters, phenyloxyethanol, chlorphenescin, which we talked about, formaldehyde, the formaldehyde donors. And so what's something that's very important to know is that when you have a makeup product that has a lot of water, it's going to have a lot of preservatives so that it'll limit microbial growth. And so when it doesn't have a lot of preservatives, it just needs to be replaced a lot more often. So that's when you have to decide, is it better to have like microbes like in the product, or should we just do preservatives that hurts the ocular surface? And so that's when you're trying to decide, you know, which is worse. Is it worse to have all this bacteria build up? Is it worse to have like these preservatives that are really harsh on the ocular surface? And so the thing is that they can be equally harmful, right? So we just want to limit the impact on the ocular surface by using a single user, choosing products with less of those irritants. And so again, if you see that list, if you see a paraben at the very top of that list, that's telling you there's a lot of preservatives in there. So you want it to be like on like the bottom half, for example. And then you want to make sure that you're replacing the makeup frequently, and then refer to the back of that product for a replacement schedule. Okay, so now let's talk about Ocular Cosmetics. I hope you guys are having fun. Okay, so cosmetics. When you have someone in your chair and you begin talking about makeup because you're learning all about it, so now you're going to talk to your patients about it, and you start asking them about their habits, it's a little uncomfortable at first. It's kind of like talking to someone about their diet, what they like to eat. So makeup is very personal. And people that wear makeup, they do it because it makes them feel better the majority of the time. And many women experience very negative feelings about themselves if they aren't wearing their makeup. So the worst thing you could do is if someone has a lot of makeup on and you're seeing a lot of irritation, a lot of complications from makeup wear, is to just downright tell them don't wear it. So what I hope to do is to teach you which mascaras and which eyeshadows would be safer to use, that you can keep your patients liking you and give them really good resources. So when you look at someone, so you're looking at me like right now or my presentation, hope you're enjoying it. And you're looking at the eyes, especially now in this mask culture. And so the eye and the eyelash length are considered one of the most important features when it comes to saying, oh yeah, that person looks nice. And so that's why it's just really important that us as optometrists, the professionals of the eye, and some ophthalmologists here too, are making sure that we understand this topic. Okay, so now let's have some fun and let's talk about some mascaras. Oh, before we do that, right. Okay, so when it comes to beauty, right, making you just appeal better looking, there are so many cosmetics that do this. There's so many procedures that help people feel better about themselves, but it also causes severe dryness. So this is a picture taken by Dr. Laura Perming, who I love. She's really gotten me into this topic too. So this person is not blinking all the way. And so, you know, when you don't make complete blinks, you're not able to put good quality tear film on the eye. Their eyelashes are too long. They're using eyelash growth serums that have prostaglandins. They have waterproof makeup. They're using removers that aren't very happy on the ocular surface. They're using retinol, Botox. They've gotten tattoo eyeliner. So these are all things that can make your eye feel really uncomfortable, but there are better choices. So when it comes to eyelash length, there are 3 different types of mascara. And so if you are a male provider and you do not know what mascara is applied to the eyelashes to make them look darker and fuller. And so the 3 type of mascaras are the classics. So these are really a lot easier to remove, a little bit safer for the ocular surface. Waterproof mascaras, I know I've heard this often, even growing up, like don't use waterproof because it's not comfortable for the ocular surface. We'll kind of talk about that. And then there's fiber lashes. And so of these 3 mascaras, the classic oil and water emulsions are going to be a little bit nicer on the ocular surface. So some complications that you'll see from mascara when you're looking at them in the chair is there irritation from the ingredients in the mascara. They can have blepharitis, again, from the microbial growth. Their lashes can fall out, and then they can actually get mascara under the eyelid, causing a lot of pigment clumping because they're not removing it at night. So these are the ingredients that cause a lot of irritation to the ocular surface. Methicones and dimethicone, those reduce smudging, so they're used for waterproofing. Isoparaffins, so that was in the example I showed you earlier of the mascara, why it's just not very comfortable for the eye. And at the very end of this lecture, I'll show you all of these ingredients, so you don't have to memorize them now. But basically, when you're talking with someone about mascara, just have them look through their ingredients so that they can be in a more comfortable mascara. So the longer you are using mascara, what this study in 2013 showed is that it'll cause your lashes to weaken and then they'll fall out more. And when you use just water and your like fingertips to remove, you're rubbing the eyelid margin, and then that also causes your lashes to fall out. And so people are putting these products on their face to make their eyelashes look longer, and it's actually making it worse. And then the fiber lash, I think it was called Unique, or there's a couple of others, but these mascaras that have false synthetic fibers as you put it on, sometimes it's a two-step. These fibers would then dislodge from the lash and get into the eye and start poking the eye. So it's just not, they're just not very healthy for the eye. And then again, as you're using mascara, really want to focus on the tips of the lashes, and you want to use just a single user. And then this is what I was talking about. So when you're using mascara, if you're not taking it out at night, it's going somewhere. So sometimes it'll go under the eyelid and you'll see the pigment clumping. Another really common ocular cosmetic is eyeliner. And people use eyeliner along the lash and the eyelid margin, and it helps the eyes just appear larger. And so there are 3 different types of eyeliner. There's a liquid eyeliner, which is going to have more water. And so you know that when a cosmetic has more water content, it's going to have more preservatives. Okay. And then there's pencil eyeliners. And so these pencils are pretty good for bacteria, because as soon as you're done using it, you can just sharpen it and it's a new surface again. And then there are gel eyeliners, which is kind of a mix of both. So it has like high water content compared to the pencil version, but there's a little bit less preservatives in them compared to the liquid eyeliner. But just like our mascara, we're going to have some complications. So silicone resins, which are found a lot in the pencil eyeliners, are going to definitely be very irritating. Just like everything else, preservatives and different pigments can be irritating to the ocular surface. And this is something that is very dear to my heart. So if you see someone in your chair that has eyeliner along the lid margin, you know, along that line of Mark's mucocutaneous junction, that's where your meibomian glands are opening. And so if you are constantly putting eyeliner on your lower eyelid, you're not allowing your eyes to release good quality tears as you blink. So one of the best things, so this is top 2. So one of the best things you can do tomorrow to tell your patients, besides that cute little jar that says how often to replace their makeup, is to tell them to stop putting their eyeliner on the meibomian gland line, because when they're blinking their eyeliner into their eye. It's getting there, it's rubbing all around, and then they're also causing their eyes just to be a lot more uncomfortable. Okay, and so this was very interesting. This is a study in 2015. So what they did is that they compared pencil eyeliner and like a liquid eyeliner. And basically what they did, okay, so we got some pencils and we got some makeup. And so they were looking at the temperatures, the phase transition it took to go to change the meibum. So basically making the tear film or the lipids and the meibum switch to solid to liquid. And what they found is with the pencil eyeliner, the eye had to work so hard to try to warm it up. So for dry eye, the pencil eyeliner, your eye had to work so much harder to provide more heat to allow tear film to go on the eye a little bit better. So with eyeshadows, there are a couple of different ingredients that really cause a lot of irritation to the front surface. And so eyeshadows are applied to the top area of the eyelid, and sometimes you'll apply it along the bottom of the eyelid as well. And so the main irritants are talc and mica. And again, with talc, I said this a little earlier, but there can be a lot of contamination from asbestos for how they mine the talc. And so that was a big problem a couple of years ago with children's makeup. So contamination, and then also just really irritating to the ocular surface. Different pigments can cause irritation, and then different emollients in the eyeshadows. And I feel like it comes in 3. So just like there are 3 eyeliners, there are 3 mascaras, there's 3 different types of eyeshadows. And so the powder eyeshadow is probably one of the most commonly used eyeshadows. The downside about using a powder eyeshadow is they often contain glitter, because who doesn't love glitter? But whenever you're putting glitter on, whenever you're putting eyeshadow on that has glitter, that glitter will just go right into the tear film, and then it just like rubs that ocular surface all day. A lot of talc and mica are the bulking agents, but yeah, so just something to be aware of if they're using eyeshadow, just to try to stay away from the glitter ones. And then with eyeshadow creams, these are okay. So the eyeshadow creams, the downside about these is they like migrate into the folds. It's a little bit better for the ocular surface, because you don't have to worry about that powder getting into the eye and rubbing on the ocular surface, but it doesn't look as nice. So that's something to be aware of. And then the eyeshadow sticks, these are a little more friendly. So it's kind of like an eyeliner pencil, but it's in a stick form. And then you can avoid a contamination by just like sharpening that tip. Okay, lash growth serums. Okay, so I definitely want you to remember this tip too. I don't know if this is top 3, but this is up there. So with lash growth serums, almost every 20-year-old is going to be on a lash growth serum. So these serums are applied at night or older. Anyone, you know what? A lot of women use lash serums. I'm not trying to single out the 20-year-olds, just put them out there. Okay, so lash growth serums are applied to the upper lash line at night. And the reason why people use these serums is because they won't have to use mascara during the day. They don't have to worry about mascara coming off or smudging, those kind of things. But the downside with lash growth serums is the majority of them use a synthetic prostaglandin. And so whenever you have patients that are using serums, tell them not to use the over-the-counter serums that use the prostaglandins. And so if you turn over the ingredient list, you look through all of those ingredients, you're looking for ingredients like isopropyl coprostinate, ethylcoprostanomide. Okay, so it'll have the word, the PROST for the synthetic prostaglandins. And the reason why we don't want to do prostaglandins when we're not monitoring them, unlike when we monitor our patients on glaucoma medications or Latisse, like we're monitoring them on that prostaglandin, it can change the color of the skin, cause a lot of ocular discomfort. Actually, it can cause your lashes to fall out, lots of itching, things like that. So some over-the-counter lash serums, just so you can kind of be aware of them, just kind of let them buzz in there. Babe Lash, Grande Lash is a big one. Roden & Field's Lash Boost. So these all have synthetic prostaglandins. So some better serums would be ones that use lipopeptides. So these are more like conditioners versus serums, but I like to call them that anyway. So these won't have as dramatic results, but they will allow the eyelashes to go back to their natural length and volume and still make people feel beautiful. Okay. False lashes. So false lashes are ones that people typically buy at the drugstore, and they're reusable. And what you do is that you apply the glue to the lash, and then you just kind of apply it to the upper lid margin. Now, the downside is the glues can contain formaldehyde, latex, parabens, and a lot of people can be allergic to these things and get allergic reactions, obviously, blood or conjunctivitis. I see all of this all of the time. And so when you're educating your patients to wear these, if they like won't stop wearing them, just tell them to use the green duo. That's my favorite one to recommend. It's found at our local Fred Meyer, and it doesn't have latex or formaldehyde. So it'll be a little safer for the ocular surface. And then there are these magnetic lashes, which I used to really like, but I'm liking them a lot less now. And there's two different types of magnetic lashes. There's ones that have magnets like in the strip, and then you like sandwich them together. But whew, lots of abrasions and yeah, the learning curve is very, very tough. And then there's ones that use a magnetic liner, and so you put the magnetic liner on directly on the eyelid, and then you put the eyelashes there. I'm finding a lot of irritation and allergies. I think it must obviously it's the liner, but anyway, so what I recommend people to do is if they are going to use the magnetic lashes to use, and they use the magnetic liner one, to do a patch test first. So just like apply some of that liner to their hand. See if you react after about a day or so. And if everything's great, then go ahead and apply it. But if you've been on a lash serum, because of that prostaglandin inducing that inflammation, make sure that they're off the lash serum for 3 months before they try that. Okay, eyelash extensions. All the time. Everyone's doing eyelash extensions. Makes your eyes look beautiful. So false eyelashes are made from synthetic fibers or natural hair, and they are individually glued to existing lashes by a professional. So this is a process that can take hours. It costs a lot of money, and people go in every 2 to 4 weeks to get this done. So people who have eyelash extensions really love them. And the glues that they use can contain formaldehyde. The length that they are can cause dryness, which we'll talk about, and they can just get real gross. So some complications from these extensions are, again, allergic reaction, blepharitis, hordeolums. The lashes can fall out because they're too heavy, just a lot of complications from the eyelash extensions. And then, can eyelashes be too long? Okay, so this is like the third thing that I want you to, so I would say the Prost one would be number 4, but this is like the third thing. So can eyelashes be too long? And the answer is yes. So the correct eyelash length for an eye on a normal day would be 1/3 the width of the eye. And so that is going to be the most comfortable length for the eyelashes. And the reason why you don't want longer, fuller eyelashes for the health of the eye and the comfort of the eye is because when your eyelashes are too long, it actually changes how air comes into the eye. And so you're going to have more direct airflow in the eye. You're going to capture more allergens, and it's just going to increase the discomfort in your eye. Eyelash perming. I had someone come in last month that had a eyelash perming event go wrong. This is when the eyelashes are wrapped around a plastic or metal rod. They use a perming solution near the eye, and anything that gets like on the eyelid skin is going to get into the eye. So when they say your eye is closed, you're still going to get those ingredients on the ocular surface. So some complications that can happen is an allergic reaction, which is just terrible, combined with keratoconjunctivitis. And so the person that I saw recently, she had a terrible reaction to this. And all we could do was make her feel more comfortable, because you have to just, it's going to be in there until the cycle of the lash goes away, which is about 3 months or so. So when you do the eyelash perming with a professional, they typically combine it with the eyelash tint. And so is it using the hair dye near the eye? Is it using the PPD again? And when the complications arise within 24 hours, especially the perming one, you can actually rinse it out. So just like if you get a perm, you get water in your hair, then it kind of neutralizes the perming solution. But after 24 hours, it's set in. And so that's why we can only treat that response to the allergen for the life of the cycle. So this person was really uncomfortable. So that's why I do not recommend eyelash tinting or eyelash perms, because the reactions don't start until after we can't really make it not start, unless you just don't do it. Okay, so there's the thing. Okay, anti-aging creams, retinoids. Basically, long story short, don't use retinol near the eyeball because it will increase dryness. And we know this because people use Accutane for acne, which causes your face to be less oily, right? It causes the acne not to be as prominent. And this damages the meibomian glands. It thickens the ductal epithelium. It'll reduce the overall size and number of them. It decreases how many mature acini, which are the ones filled with lipids, and just overall just dries you out. And so that's why when you use a topical retinoid, these anti-wrinkle creams will just increase ocular discomfort because of the dryness. And then with eye makeup removers, we know that water alone can't remove every cosmetic. And so there are oil-free and oil makeup removers. And so with oil-free, they often contain pretty harsh preservatives. And so what happens is that the surfactants, they basically solubilize the makeup so that it's easier to remove it. And then the oil-based, it's super good at removing waterproof mascara, but it causes a lot of tear instability and it causes a lot of evaporation of the tear film. And then there's micellar water, which I feel like a lot of people are using now. And all this is water plus one or more surfactants. And so a surfactant molecule, if you don't remember, has this cute little hydrophobic tail and it has a hydrophilic head. And so what happens is that the hydrophobic tail attaches to like the oily makeup because it loves oil. And so like all of these tails come together, and the hydrophobic heads create this like ring, and then the water then captures the hydrophilic head because it loves it. And then that's how the micellar water works really well. And so with these makeup removers, every makeup remover is going to cause some kind of dryness on the ocular surface, but the one that causes the most is the oil-based cleansers, has the greatest negative effect on your tear film stability. And then permanent eyelid makeup and tattooing. So this is applied to mimic eyeliner or to make your eyebrows darker. There's a lot of ingredients that, again, aren't regulated. A lot of people have allergies to this. Once they do it, it's permanent or semi-permanent. And then over time, the inks start to lose their color, and then the pigment can spread out. The lid becomes more elastic. It's just not a good idea. It also can change the architecture of the meibomian glands, which can cause more dry eye. So lots of cosmetics, and those were just near the eye. So many more that people use all over their face. And so if it's on the face and they touch it, it will likely kind of migrate into the eye. Okay, so now for the bread and butter. So I'm going to leave you with 14 practical makeup tips for you to start sharing tomorrow. Okay, so number one, have your patients review all of their skincare and makeup products. Remember that ingredients that are listed by quantity. So when you see an ingredient list, the one that's listed at the top has the most ingredient and then the least at the bottom. You can download the EWG app or the Think Dirty app. On the web browser, you can use the Skin Deep database to further investigate some ingredients. But just remember that the EWG doesn't always get it right. They don't always keep up the latest data, but it's a really good starting point. So when you go onto a Skin Deep website, it'll kind of give you a scale from 1 to 10, how it rates the safety of that product. And then this is an example of a Neutrogena product, and it has a safety rating of 7. So I recommend 4 or lower for safety features. And then it'll tell you what are their concerns. So the concerns here for this mascara would be a moderate concern for cancer, a low low concern for reproductive toxicity, high concern for allergies, so very high restriction. And then it tells you on the right screen why it's a high concern. And so the second thing you'll see is irritation, skin, eyes, lungs. And so this is a product that's applied to the eyelid area. So definitely want to stay away from this guy. And then it lists the ingredients and why it has that. And the reason why it has such a high rating is because it has fragrance. And then something you remember is that fragrance, it can mean it has a number of ingredients listed there. Okay. Number 3, switch to cleaner products. So you want to have them not like completely do it in one day because there's a lot of money and it takes a lot of time. But you want to have them start by removing products that stay on the eye longest. And then the list I'm about to show you, you'll have them just make sure they're reviewing that ingredient list from the ingredients to avoid and the ingredients to limit. And you want them at like the bottom half or not at all, but that's how you want to start. Number 4, make sure you remove the makeup at night. So when you keep it on at night, it goes somewhere. Bacteria loves it. And this can just cause your eyes to be really uncomfortable and get them really red in the morning. Number 5, clean your eyelids. I was just talking with a mom today about her 10-year-old son to clean his eyelids. And I was like, yeah, so this is what's going on. I showed her a Google stock image and she didn't believe me that her son had blepharitis. I was like, okay. And then I pulled out my microscope and I had her look at my eye, his eyelashes. And she was like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, so let's clean eyelids. And so not just for your makeup wears, but I highly recommend, educating your patients, especially if they have any type of blepharitis, just to clean the eyelids daily and not to use baby shampoo. So stop recommending baby shampoo because baby shampoo has too many ingredients that causes a lot of ocular surface discomfort. Number 6, just rinse the eyes with sterile saline or artificial tears. I don't recommend rinsing the eyes with tap water if they get makeup in their eye. Okay, replace the products. And now you know that cute little open jar, what that means. You don't want anyone to share. You'll look at when you see the replacement schedule, you can either mark it with a permanent marker. That's what I do. Or there's an app. There's like Beauty Keeper, Check Fresh, or you can just add a little reminder on your scheduler. Okay. Number 8, every time you have someone use powder, eyeshadow, or eyeliner that they use a brush for, just make sure that they're always cleaning it and removing the excess. Well, definitely removing the excess after each use, but cleaning the brushes every 2 to 3 weeks with a diluted fragrance-free soap or a hypochlorous eye spray. Now, you could also just, some people just get new brushes like frequently, which is very expensive, but you either need to clean them or get new ones, but don't use the same brush for years and years without cleaning it. Okay, this is the other thing, right? So no tight lining. You do not want to have eyeliner on the meibomian glands. It causes your tear film to be too unstable. Instead, you want to apply the eyeliner to the outside of the lash line. Okay, never permanent makeup, right? Because the inks can be harmful and we can permanently damage the integrity of those meibomian glands. We want to avoid waterproof makeup. Waterproof makeup can be difficult to remove. They have different ingredients that are very harsh to the ocular surface, increasing the dry eye. Tip number 12, when choosing an anti-wrinkle cream, do not use retinol because that could increase dryness. So if you're trying to troubleshoot why someone's having ocular discomfort and they're using an eye cream that has retinol in it, that might be why. So the best thing to do would be using like a sunscreen that doesn't have parabens. So just make sure that you're not using retinol. Number 13, you want to avoid eyelash perms, tints, and conditioning because of the ingredients being toxic to the ocular surface. Tip number 14, you do not want to lengthen, which is impossible. So I want everyone to avoid lash extensions and false lashes and lash serums because we learned this. It causes the lashes to be too long, which creates more dryness. But if they have to do lash extensions, make sure that they're having an upfront conversation with their esthetician about ingredients that are in the adhesives, especially formaldehyde and formaldehyde donors cause a lot of irritation. Opt for a more natural fill. So don't get like those super heavy lash extensions. It's really uncomfortable for the eyelid skin. And then keep those lashes super clean. If they have to use false lashes, just opt for the green duo, okay? A latex-free or formaldehyde-free glue, and then always clean the lashes after use or get new ones each time. And then if you're gonna use the magnetic lashes, make sure to do a patch test first. And that's actually not even a bad idea to try it with the glue if it's a new glue for them, just to go ahead and do that patch test. And they have to do the lash serum. Avoid the ones with the prost, so no isopropyl coprostinate. Just use those peptide serums. And then if you have to use a lengthening mascara, you do not want to use the one with the synthetic fibers, right? So you just want a non-synthetic. Okay, to help your patients find better products, I've created a handout and it is on the Woo University website. That is so fun to say, Stephanie. And it's under the files under this lecture. And so there are different websites to find better products. If you're going to Sephora, there's a clean at Sephora. At Target, there's a Target clean. These aren't perfect, but they're really good starting points. And then this makeup sheet, which is the reason why I got into doing lectures in the first place, is because I had a 30-something-year-old woman who said, what do I need to do better about my makeup habits? And I said, give me an afternoon, I'll write it in an email. And then like 5 years later, I finally am trying to catch up, but it's always changing. So this is a 2-page document and I constantly keep it updated. And so the first half just talks about that there's little regulation and labels are sometimes just tricky marketing terms. There are ingredients to avoid, ingredients to limit. The next part talks about my top 14 tips for healthier eyes to make your eyes more comfortable. And we just went through all of those 1 through 14. And then at the next page is talking about examples of safer products as of November 13th and recommending different mascaras, different eyeshadows, different serums, different makeup removers. And then at the bottom of that sheet are these better products. And so that is cosmetic wear in the Grizzly Bear and EyeCare. I hope you had a good time. If you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out. Those are my 2 misbehaved dogs.